Hello, it's Siona from Honouring Me Crochet and the Hooked on Crochet Club, and it's Friday and it's crochet and chat time. So how's your week been? For me, it's been a short week this week. I had a long weekend last weekend and only 3 days back at work, so it was kind of a bizarre week for me, and now I've got a 3-day weekend again because we have a public holiday here in Perth, so I'm looking forward to lots of crochet time. I've already changed into PJs and I've got my hook out obviously because I'm sitting here, and yes, ready to wind down again for the end of another week. So tonight I thought I would have a little chat about setting goals, because I think one thing that usually sets us back from progressing a project is that we've got nothing to motivate us to move forward. Sometimes we've got a date that we can use, but usually there's, it's just something we want to make. So we might have, if you followed my chat a few weeks ago, my blog where I talked about organising your works in progress. So this is kind of an extension of that, because once you've worked out which ones you want to do, you then need to set goals for getting them done. So that's what this one's about. So what sparked it for me was my current Forever Eileen blanket, that I was getting frustrated because it's sitting there. I've got no reason to make it other than I want to. So I haven't been touching it for quite a while. I think I started it start of this year maybe, or maybe it's almost 12 months ago. So it sat there way too long untouched, and it was starting to bug me that it was never going to get done. So I actually set myself a goal to have it done by the end of September. And while I knew at the time I probably wouldn't make it, I still tried. I think it's very true that I really won't make it now. But anyway, I thought I'd use that as an example to help explain how to set some goals. So I think the first thing you've got to do is set yourself a main goal. So for my Forever Eileen project, the main goal is to get it done, which quite often is what our goal is for our projects. Sometimes you've got a reason to get it done. It might be a gift for someone. You might have a customer that needs it. But in any case, that's usually the main reason for getting it done. So for my project, I had no date. So I had to set myself a date. Otherwise, nothing was going to make it happen. So when I first decided to set a goal for the Forever Eileen, as I said, I picked the start of September. But the only way to make it achievable, so that's a pretty big goal, especially when with that blanket, it's nearly 200 rows of single crochet, or double crochet if you talk UK terms. So that's a lot of rows of very small stitches to get through, which can in itself be demotivating sometimes, even though each row's kind of little mini achievement. But the best way, once you've set your main goal, you then got to try and set yourself some mini goals. So for that project, it's like the mini goals tend to be your milestones along the way. So for me, for that project, each row was a mini goal. If you're making a scarf maybe out of a whirl, then maybe your mini goal is a color change. It could be a repeat within a pattern. It could be, if you're making a toy, it might be each limb is a goal. How many stitches have I done there? I know when I did unicorns for my nieces, each limb definitely became a goal, and because I knew I wouldn't finish the second one after I did the first one, I actually made them at the same time, because I've learnt myself a little bit now, and what I'm like. So yeah, within the main goal, which is getting it done, is set yourself some little ones in between. So with the Forever Eileen blanket, at the time that I decided I was going to start prioritising it, I had 140 rows left to do, which is quite a few. And that meant by getting it done by September, I had to set a bunch of little mini milestones amongst that. So for me, I had 5 weeks left. I think it was 5 weeks until the middle of September, and then that was going to give me time to do the border by the end. So given that, that was then my next mini goal, was to have 28 rows done each week if I wanted to get it done on time. So then I broke that down further into how many each day, which was going to be 4 rows a day. It seemed achievable at the time, and it kind of was. 4 rows a day is like an hour. But then even setting it, I knew it wasn't quite realistic, and I guess that probably encouraged me to not stick with it. So in the end, I now have to set myself a new goal, because while I did progress it quite a bit and I was quite pleased with what I did get 50 rows completed. Means I've still got 90 that I have to do. And I had thought when I first set it as well that my next, if I didn't achieve the end of September, then my next goal would be the end of this year, because I don't want to start or continue that project into another year. I think that's gone on long enough. And I'm sure there's many of you out there that have a blanket or something that sat around for way too long that you want to progress. So maybe this will help you a little bit as well. So now my goal, I've sat and I've done some more maths. So there's 14 weekends at the end of the year, till the end of the year. So I know realistically that I'm not likely to get many rows done during the week, because that's when I focus on a different project. And I did start a cal as well that is going to interfere with that. So what that means is I now have, over those 14 weekends, if I make it even, if I do 7 rows a weekend, which is still quite achievable, then I'll get the rows done in 12 weeks, which leaves me a couple of weekends left to do the border. So that's my little mini goals now. But in order to stay committed to that, I need to make sure they're realistic and achievable. So the first time I said it, I already knew that it probably wasn't realistic or achievable, but I thought I'd stick with it anyway and see how I went. And I did do well for about 3 weeks, maybe not quite that long, until things got busy with my, because I did the beginner's course, so that took up more time in the evening than I had before when I first set the goal. So now I'm going to be even more realistic and make sure it is achievable. And I think 7 rows a weekend, that's only a couple of hours. If I split it over the 2 days or even include some Friday night, that's not that much each. And if I get it done early, then it's definitely going to get done. So that bit's the easy bit, kind of. So then the next bit, if you want to set and actually achieve your goal, is you need to make yourself accountable. So here I am making myself accountable to getting it done. I can't get much more public than the live Facebook that then later goes further on social media. But also for each time I finish a row, so when I was doing it weekdays, I was actually setting a photo of the app I use to follow and count my rows. I was setting that into my stories on Instagram, which goes to Facebook as well. So I'm going to do the same again for accountability, because for me that works, knowing other people, whether you're paying attention or not. I don't know if you are, but to me you are. So keep an eye on my Instagram stories over the weekends, starting this weekend, because you will start to see Forever Eileen again and the rows progressing, and I will get there. And the other step to make sure that you stay with your goals is to reward yourself, which for me, I didn't set a very good reward last time. I did get a feel-good feeling, which does help, but one reward was starting a new project, which I did anyway. I'm very good at making myself rewards when I don't need them or haven't earned them. So I do need to come up with a reward for this one. So if anyone has any ideas on how I can reward myself besides the feel-good feeling, half thinking I could not have wine until I've done my Forever Eileen rows, but that seems like a punishment to have to wait. So I won't make it that one, but I'm sure I'll come up with something to reward myself, and preferably not in a food-based reward. But yes, so I guess you can see what plans I've got for the weekend. It's got lots of crochet, it's got lots of relaxing. I do have some things I need to do for the clubhouse still, which I will progress and get done. I've already planned out my weekend, so that's a bonus, kind of. I am still considering ripping carpets up and painting the floors in one room, but we'll see. No promises on that one either. So yeah, so hopefully that gives you some help. If you do need help with setting goals, let me know, send a message. I'm more than willing. You can come and join my Crochet Learning Corner. I'm happy to help you set goals in there as well, because it's always a good thing when you achieve them, and I set goals all through my life with everything, so and quite regularly. It's one way to motivate you to keep going, so I encourage it. It's like my square a day. This is now the second square for today, so I'm ahead of that one. But every little bit adds up. So even with this, setting a goal, all I have to do is a square a day, and eventually, I haven't set an end date for them, but I know that by the time I finish these last 2 balls, I should have enough for a blanket. And it's been easy to just chip away and get it done. But anyway, I am going to leave it at that, and I hope you all have a lovely weekend. I have a lovely long weekend ahead of me. And yes, it's time to go and get more serious about some crochet. All right, enjoy everybody.